If you fill a raised bed to the top with bagged soil, you are paying $200 to bury dead dust, most of it where your plant's roots will never reach. The industry wants you to think there is no alternative. But what if the real engine for infinite living soil is the waste rotting in your backyard? This story exposes the raised bed scam and why everything you have been told about filling garden beds is wrong. A standard raised bed that is 4 feet by 8 feet and 1 foot deep requires 32 cubic feet of soil. At the garden center, that means hauling home 16 giant bags of potting mix. Each bag runs about $12, sometimes more. By the time you have loaded them into your car, stacked them in your yard, and sliced them open, you are already $200 lighter. That is just for one bed. If you want a second, double it. Suddenly, the dream of a backyard garden starts to look like a luxury project. For many first-time gardeners, the sticker shock hits hard. The math is simple, but the pain is real. $200 for a box of dirt. Most of that money is spent on soil that will sit untouched, buried far below where roots can reach during the first season. Garden centers do not advertise this. They just show you the wall of bags and the price tag. The advice is always the same. Fill every inch with their premium mix. But when the numbers are laid out, it is clear who benefits. The industry sells you on the idea that more is better, but the only thing growing fast is their profit margin. For the average homeowner, that is a steep price to pay for a handful of tomatoes. Most vegetables never send their roots anywhere near the bottom of a 12-inch bed. Extension charts from universities across the country show that lettuce, spinach, and radishes barely reach 6 inches. Even tomatoes, carrots, and peppers, plants with a reputation for deep roots, rarely push past 12 inches in normal garden soil. The bulk of the action happens right at the surface, where water and nutrients are easiest to find. That means the lower half of a raised bed is, for most crops, untouched territory. The roots stay high, chasing warmth and moisture in the top layer, while the bottom sits unused. This is not just theory. Dig up a mature bed at the end of the season, and you will find a dense network of roots near the surface, with little to nothing reaching the bottom. So when the industry tells you to fill every inch with expensive mix, they are selling you on a need that does not exist. The biology just does not support the expense. What is really required is a fertile top layer, 6 to 10 inches deep. The rest can be filled with something else, something that does not come in a bag. Once you see the real root data, the logic of buying 32 cubic feet of premium soil for every bed starts to fall apart. It is not just about saving money, it is about matching the soil to what plants actually use and refusing to bury your budget where your vegetables will never reach. Every yard has a hidden supply of what most people call waste, fallen branches, old logs, last year's leaf piles, and trimmings from a neighbor's tree service. Instead of hauling this material to the curb, it becomes the foundation of a raised bed. The lower half, 40 to 50%, does not need premium soil at all. It needs volume, and wood delivers. A single 4x8 bed can swallow up a surprising amount. A few logs from a limb downed in a storm, a wheelbarrow or two of sticks, a dense layer of leaves raked up in autumn, thick branches, and old firewood work just as well. Even the gnarly, partly rotted pieces that seem useless have a role to play. These materials do not have to be pretty. They just have to be untreated and free of paint or chemicals. As each piece stacks in, the empty box fills quickly and the need for expensive bagged soil drops by half. This is not about skimping. It is about using what is already on hand. The wood will settle, but that is part of the plan. By packing the bottom with what nature gives for free, you set the stage for a bed that holds water, supports roots, and builds soil from the ground up. The best part, There is no need to buy what you can scavenge, and every stick and leaf diverts waste from the landfill while laying the groundwork for a living, breathing garden. Rotting wood at the bottom of a raised bed doesn't just fill space, it transforms the way water moves through the garden. Each log, branch, or chunk of half-decayed wood acts like a natural sponge. The pores and fibers soak up rainfall and irrigation, holding moisture that would otherwise drain away. Scientific tests show decomposing wood can store up to 5 times its own weight in water. That means a single log weighing 10 pounds can lock in 50 pounds of water, slowly releasing it back to the soil above as roots need it. During dry spells, this hidden reservoir becomes a lifeline. While the surface dries and cracks in the summer sun, the buried wood keeps the root zone damp from below. Gardeners who use this method often find they water half as often as their neighbors. Moisture meters placed deep in the bed show a steady supply even after weeks without rain. The effect is not just about convenience, it shields plants from the stress of drought, evens out swings between wet and dry, and helps seedlings survive those crucial first weeks. The wood layer also encourages capillary action, drawing water upward toward thirsty roots. Instead of pooling at the bottom or draining away, water moves through the decaying network and into the soil where plants can use it. This is why beds built with a waste layer stay lush and productive, even when the hose stays coiled. The wood does the heavy lifting, quietly recharging the soil's moisture day after day. As wood decomposes beneath the surface of a raised bed, it does more than just hold water. It generates heat. This is the quiet engine at work in every waste layer bed. The breakdown of logs and branches is a biological process that releases thermal energy, raising the temperature of the soil above by several degrees. Soil scientists have measured this effect directly. In early spring, beds built with a thick wood core can register temperatures 5 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the surrounding ground. That difference is not subtle. When the average garden bed is still waking up from winter, the waste layer bed is already warm enough to coax seeds out of dormancy and push transplants into growth. This thermal boost does not just shave a day or two off the calendar. For many gardeners, it means planting 2 to 4 weeks earlier than their neighbors. In regions with short growing seasons, those extra weeks can be the difference between a full harvest and a disappointing finish. The warmth comes from the same process that heats a compost pile, microbes breaking down carbon-rich wood and releasing energy as they go. Here, the effect is steady and spread out, insulated by the soil above. On cold nights, that heat rises gently, protecting young roots from frost and keeping the soil in the ideal range for germination. Thermal imaging and soil thermometers confirm the pattern. The warmest zone sits just above the wood layer and gradually cools toward the surface. This creates a natural gradient that encourages roots to grow deep and strong. The heat advantage is most pronounced in the first few years, when decomposition is at its peak, but even as the wood breaks down, the bed continues to buffer against sudden cold snaps. For anyone tired of waiting for the ground to thaw or losing seedlings to a late frost, the waste layer offers a real, measurable advantage. The garden season starts earlier and runs longer, not because of a greenhouse or a heating cable, but because of the quiet work happening below, out of sight, every single day. Bagged potting mix may look rich and dark, but inside, it is nearly lifeless. Most commercial blends are made from peat moss and perlite, materials that arrive at the store almost completely sterile. There is no living network, no active biology, just inert particles waiting for fertilizer. In contrast, the buried wood and leaves at the bottom of a raised bed become a living engine. As the wood breaks down, it is colonized by fungi, thin white threads of mycelium that weave through every crevice. These fungal networks act as nutrient highways, connecting the decaying wood with the roots above. Instead of relying on chemical fertilizers to push nutrients through the soil, the mycelium delivers them directly, breaking down tough plant fibers and releasing minerals in a steady, natural flow. Soil scientists describe this as the difference between a dead end and a superhighway. In a sterile bag mix, roots are on their own. In a wood-based bed, they are plugged into a living grid. Studies show that mycelium can move phosphorus, nitrogen, and even water from deep inside a rotting log straight to a tomato root, faster than water alone could travel through plain soil. The result is a system that feeds itself. As the wood decays, it forms humus, a dark, crumbly material that stays loose and fluffy, never packing down like peat. This aeration keeps oxygen flowing to roots and microbes, encouraging more growth with every season. A soil scientist might sum it up this way: you're not just filling space, you are building a microbial reef. Each year, as the wood breaks down, the bed becomes richer and more alive. Instead of compacting into a hard block, the soil stays open, full of air pockets and fungal threads. The difference is visible when you dig. A handful of waste layer soil is dark, springy, and teeming with life, while bagged mixes often turn dense and lifeless after a single season. The living soil not only feeds plants, it renews itself, cycling nutrients and keeping the ecosystem in motion. For gardeners, that means healthier crops, less work, and a bed that grows better every year, all powered by the quiet work of fungi and microbes beneath the surface. Retailers are not just selling soil, they are selling a cycle. Every spring, millions of gardeners haul home bag after bag, pouring money into a system designed for repeat business. The numbers behind those bags tell the real story. Industry reports show retail profit margins on bag mixes hovering around 50%. That means for every dollar spent, half goes straight to the store's bottom line. The rest covers cheap ingredients, mostly peat moss, perlite, and a handful of filler wrapped in plastic that is destined for the landfill. Across the country, over 500 million plastic bags of potting mix are sold each year. Most are used once, then tossed. The environmental cost is staggering, more than 1 billion pounds of new plastic year after year, just to deliver a product that will compact and lose its punch in a single season. The business model relies on gardeners coming back, not just for soil, but for fertilizer to revive tired beds and more bags to top off what is settled. The message is clear. If the bag runs out of nutrients, you buy another. If the soil compacts, you buy more. The cycle keeps plastic flowing out the door and money flowing in. For the industry, it is a perfect system. For gardeners and the planet, it is a raw deal. A seasoned permaculture practitioner lays out the Lasagna Protocol, a 4-step method that turns waste into soil. The first layer is the core. Fill the bottom 40% of the bed with thick, untreated logs and sturdy branches. These should be hardwoods if possible: oak, maple, or fruit wood. Avoid cedar, black walnut, or anything treated with chemicals. Cedar breaks down too slowly, and walnut releases juglone, a toxin for many vegetables. Next comes the filter. Pack smaller sticks, twigs, and last year's leaves tightly into the gaps between the logs. Straw or shredded cardboard can go here too, creating a dense, carbon-rich mat. This layer slows decomposition just enough to keep the system balanced, while also holding moisture and air. The third layer is non-negotiable: the nitrogen buffer. Spread 2 to 4 inches of fresh grass clippings, aged manure, or even diluted urine directly over the filter layer. This step feeds the microbes that will break down the wood, preventing them from stealing nitrogen from the plants above. Skipping this layer is the most common mistake. Without it, yellow leaves and stunted growth are almost guaranteed in year 1. Finally, add the topsoil. 6 to 10 inches of rich compost or garden soil is all that is needed for most crops. This is where the roots will feed and grow. The practitioner emphasizes that the structure below does the heavy lifting, storing water, generating heat, and building humus year after year. The Lasagna Protocol is simple, but each layer has a purpose. When followed, it creates a living bed that outperforms anything sold in a bag. A homeowner stands between two raised beds, one built the old way, and the other layered with scavenged wood and leaves. She pulls out her phone and scrolls through receipts. The first bed, filled top to bottom with bagged potting mix, cost just under $200. The waste layer bed, built the same size, tallies up to $45, mostly for a few bags of compost and a rented wheelbarrow. The difference is plain, a single season, and she is already ahead by more than $150, a clear savings. But the proof does not stop at the register. She checks the soil with a moisture probe after a week without rain. The standard bed reads dry, almost parched. The waste layer bed still registers damp, even at the bottom. Over the summer, her irrigation log shows she watered the wood-filled bed half as often as the other. That is not just convenience, it is a 50% cut in water use. Was right there in the numbers. After 2 years, she digs into the waste layer bed. The wood is softer. The soil above is rich and black. A handful crumbles easily, full of earthworms and fine roots. The level is dropped a bit as the logs turn to humus, but the fertility keeps climbing. No more hauling bags, no more spending hundreds every spring. Just a bed that gets better with time, and a garden that pays her back. Right now, millions of plastic soil bags are sold each spring, fueling landfill waste and draining wallets for short-lived results. But every fallen branch or leaf is potential, not trash. As resource prices climb and water grows scarce, the true value lies in building enduring, living soil from what we already have. Sometimes the richest ground starts with what others throw away. Share your thoughts or questions below.